Good evening, welcome to the MoneyMakers. In 2013, Roger Martin was placed third on the Thinkers 50 list. Why don't we get number 1 or 2, guys? What's going on? But the Thinkers 50 list is a biannual ranking of the most influential global business thinkers, and in his most recent book, Getting Beyond Better, he looks at the issue of social entrepreneurship and what drives transformation in society. This is the Moneymakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield. I'm joined by the renowned business thinker Roger Martin and Valter Adao, who's the head of Deloitte Digital Africa, to discuss why Roger's approach to social entrepreneurship actually will fit and could make a big difference in a South African context. For many people in this world, they go, social entrepreneurship, that's charity. But it's not, is it?
No, though it has a good intent, just like charity does. But
social entrepreneurs can make money.
They can.
And should.
They could. I don't think it's necessary. But what makes them different than just charity is charity often ameliorates a problem. So you have a social problem and people need food, so you have a food bank that ameliorates the suffering from a bad situation. Social entrepreneurs take a bad situation and see if they can be clever about building a business model that could transform that into something that is completely different, not just better, but transformed.
For argument's sake, create food gardens, sustainable food gardens, create a profit model that allows those gardens to be sustainable,
Sure.
Sell off some of the produce and allow a local community to help themselves to some of it.
Sure. Or in the case of child labor, making rugs, rather than helping the children suffer less, you create a standard for rugs that helps customers in the countries buying them to say that's one made with child labor versus not, and so you eliminate child labor over time. That's not ameliorating a problem; it's getting rid of it with a clever methodology.
How does South Africa rank in the world of social entrepreneurship? We've got a lot of really good work happening. Are we being effective?
Yes. I mean, there are some great social entrepreneurs in this country. One of my favorites is Teddy Fletcher, and what he's doing to help poor blacks who could otherwise not go to college get educated and then transform their lives by getting great, steady jobs in professions. That is a wonderful example of social entrepreneurship right here.
Do we have enough?
You know, I think social entrepreneurship is such an important a feature that I don't think any country has enough. But my view is that it's viewed as important here. There's an entrepreneurial attitude in the country, at least as I see it, that makes it a wonderful place for social entrepreneurship. And of course, social entrepreneurs tackle what are difficult, challenging problems, and South Africa is trying to do great things as a country, advance quickly, so it's got a lot of difficult, challenging problems to try and overcome.
And those are a fertile breeding ground for great ideas, Walter, are they not? I mean, we've got an environment which is fertile for social entrepreneurship. Do you think that we are being active enough as citizens in the social entrepreneurship space?
I think from a citizen perspective, I mean, the special thing about South Africans, I believe, is we do have a special interest in addressing some of the challenges we have in our society, from education right through to housing and other problems, healthcare and so on. Perhaps it's not just about the ideas, it's about driving improved collaboration between the private sector and the public sector. The concern that I always have is social entrepreneurs looking for a solution from their perspective, and probably not being properly informed as to the kind of solution government is also trying to address. And as opposed to having both parties trying to get to a similar goal through different approaches, probably if we open up dialogue a lot earlier and align ourselves around the type of goal we're trying to achieve, we probably can pull resources together, pull intelligence together, the brains trust together, and get to that endpoint more effectively and more sustainably.
Is there a model that we can look at where there is a greater level of collaboration in a developing market such as ours?
I would say not. I mean, I would not, if I was South Africa, I would not say we need to look beyond our borders for this. I think you've got entrepreneurs here. The only thing I would say is that I really like what the UK has done in terms of corporate structures to allow more sort of hybrid organizations, social impact bonds and the like. So having enabling legislation that makes sure that these enterprises that don't fit neatly as they're a pure charity or they're a pure for-profit organization to fit in between, I think that's something that every country could look to the UK and say they moved first on that.
Are we seeing greater levels of cooperation? I mean, we have seen before events of the last couple of weeks where we're all putting on bandanas and holding the National Treasury of South Africa to ransom. We have seen big measures to get government, business and labour around the table on high-level strategic stuff to avoid the downgrade. Are we seeing that filter down into greater levels of cooperation in the social entrepreneurship space?
Well, an example I can think of is specifically within the healthcare space, where some of the largest healthcare companies in South Africa, the likes of Discovery and some of the other multinationals, have started engaging around some of the challenges that we're trying to resolve in the healthcare space.
I hear words like engaging and challenges an awful lot. I don't hear solution, not once. We're not yet at well, careful which finger I use. We're not yet at the point of solutions.
Well, perhaps that's the one thing we have to get to, is that move beyond the engagement and the dialogue.
We're very good at that.
Towards enabling the entrepreneurs or guiding entrepreneurs or organizations that are supporting those initiatives towards point that we can get to solutions we can practically implement.
And that's my guess is that is where the frustration comes in. And if you've got somebody who's truly entrepreneurial, they hit their head against a single bit of red tape and they simply go, I can do this better myself. I can do it quicker, I can have higher impact, and I can do it now. I haven't got 3 years to make an impact right now. And that's where there is a disconnect between the lofty goals of cooperation and practical implementation, Roger.
No, I think that's true, and that's one place where, or one of many places probably, where I think governments can learn from social entrepreneurs. Social entrepreneurs are more inclined to just try things, try a little thing.
Fail fast and move on.
Exactly,
Or succeed.
and even in failure, often learning so that you can succeed more the next time. And I sometimes think that governments, I don't want to say governments do it all wrong and entrepreneurs do it all right, but I do think sometimes governments wait until they build consensus around the all singing, all dancing answer, and then it takes a long time. And often it just isn't the right answer, because you can never take something new and make it perfect the first time. And I like the social entrepreneurial bent, the entrepreneurial bent in general, to say, I just believe in this, I'm going to give it a try. Oh, consumers like some of what I've done, but not others. I can fix that, and make it better. And so that's where I think you could have, I think governments should encourage social entrepreneurs to try things, and we've seen this in our study of social entrepreneurship, where social entrepreneurs try things, get a success model working, and then government comes in behind with more funding to be able to grow and expand it.
It's about marrying the entrepreneurial verve, enthusiasm and energy with capital.
Yes.
Because the thing government lacks is the first 3 bits, and the first 3 bits lack the money.
Yes.
So how do we get that marriage working?
Well, I'm going to use those words that we've been repeating a lot, but we've got to get those conversations going. In a recent event that we have facilitated conversations between private sector, and when I say private sector, I'm essentially talking about the entrepreneurs that have got the ideas and they've got that energy and that verve, but perhaps lacking capital. And with government, where there are clear problems that we want to address, from healthcare to education and a variety of other spaces, and it's trying to align the vision or the goals that we're trying to achieve, get us pointing in the same direction, working on the same things, trying to address problems that are high on the priority agenda. How
do other countries get around the trust issues? There's always going to be a trust deficit. Government is not going to trust the intentions of the social entrepreneurs, actually in this to make money, and this is money for good, not for profit. And then you've got the social entrepreneurs who say, allow me to have an impact. Who's doing it well? How do we?
Again, I think it's an endemic challenge, because any time that somebody figures out that an entrepreneur has made money off of a government contract, then the press and the people smack government. And they say, well, I'm not going to do that again. So I think it's an endemic challenge. But again, I would point to the UK, and here it was a wonderful man named Sir Ronnie Cohen who convinced the government that they should essentially trust impact investors to be able to do good things for the country and make a reasonable amount of money, not a huge amount of money, and the UK government took that positive step. But I think it's a challenge. What I do think that again governments can learn again something that big private sector companies have learned, which is that there is not a huge advantage in scale for invention. Right? Yeah. In fact, inventions come from all over the place, very dispersed, and so many big companies, it was led by Procter & Gamble, have gone with this notion of connect and develop. We will bring in all sorts of inventions from the outside and then use our capability to commercialize. I think that's a pattern that governments could follow and say, we're not good at invention. We're big, we have all these responsibilities and these duties, and so having people actually invent things here is not great. We'll get the entrepreneurs to invent and then come in behind to provide the commercialization, which is capitalizing them and growing them. I think you can have higher trust then to say that's your job and this is then our job, and it can be very kind of mutually reinforcing. And the social entrepreneurs who are trying to change the world and make it better, if the government comes in behind with the resources to be able to expand it, they'll say, fantastic.
I talk to so many people in the social entrepreneurship space. All they want is the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
Are we giving them enough space to do it?
We've got to change a mindset from a government perspective where government, exactly what Roger said, government doesn't have to do everything. I think they need to create the platform to allow these entrepreneurs to understand what has to be resolved. And that kind of collaboration, that kind of partnership, I think will probably get us quicker to the potential answers that we're looking for. What sometimes I think what happens in many instances is that it is the problems that we're trying to solve. I think government wants to take full responsibility for solving those problems. Bringing in outside support is perhaps not always seen in a favorable light. So there's a change in the mindset from trying to own and solve everything to owning the platform on which problems get solved, and then backed with capital and commercialized in a sustainable way.
Collaboration is the word. The business thinker and author Roger Martin in studio tonight, and also Valter Adao, who's head of Deloitte's Digital Africa business. There'll be more interesting ways to try and fix the future next time on the MoneyMakers as we look at transformational entrepreneurship in South Africa. We've got a real crisis of confidence in South Africa right now. There are people doing incredibly good things, but we do need to get greater levels of cooperation. Until next time, bye-bye.